I am so thrilled and honored to be here. Let's see if it's going to work here. And this is my first real talk as an SAB member, and I'm so, so excited. I got to meet some of you at Impact Summit last summer, and I'm so excited to be here on International Women's Day. What a great day to talk about perimenopause and postmenopause. So I do want to just say and give a shout out to my research team. You can't read our shirts, but it says Team Hot Flash. Most of our work these days has really focused on perimenopause and that transition into postmenopause. And so I'm just so excited to give you some insight straight from the lab on how we can really use exercise and nutrition, particularly to help us thrive through this time period. So I want to just set the stage a little bit for everyone out there, of whether you're a woman or you know a woman, or we have, mothers and daughters. This is such an important life stage that we know little about. But 6,000 women reach menopause daily. And I'm going to give us a little bit, sometimes we don't know perimenopause versus postmenopause. I'm going to give us a little insight here in a minute. But I wanted to think about this. This is a very real time in life. And menopause, which is the time, it's average age of 51 in the US, and Dr. Beck is going to spend some time talking about menopause and after. It's a big concern and heavy burden for a lot of women. And a lot of it we're seeing is that even that transition to menopause is the time before that single point in time that causes a lot of changes to both our body and our mind. Average onset of perimenopause in the United States is about 42. But we're getting more and more data that symptoms start as early as 35 to 38 years old, and they can last 4 to 8 years. And I think this is really important to think about, that for up to sometimes a decade, women can be experiencing a lot of side effects. And often we don't know that they're attributed to menopause and those changes in hormones. There's also many things we can do to help ourselves, and that we're going to talk about some of that today in this transition. So like I mentioned, that there's not a given single date, but often the time we start perimenopause is very impacted by when our mothers started perimenopause. And so that's one thing to do, is ask your mom about her symptoms and her signs and at what age. And it's very much a continuum. So average age, like I mentioned, is about 42 in the US, but it can start much earlier. And that time, this transition to menopause is a single point in time when a woman stops her period for 12 months in a row. Perimenopause, our periods become more intermittent, and really there's a number of things that happen physiologically. I want to talk about some of these today, but really my hope is to give us some tools to say, how do we thrive in this time phase? Because there's a number of things, and this is what the research shows, that although we know a lot about menopause and there's a number of health effects that happen, which Dr. Becker is going to tell us about, it's actually this perimenopause phase that becomes even more important for lifestyle changes, so that we can really thrive, as many of us will live more than half of our lives in that postmenopause phase. So a couple things to point out. We have increased vasomotor symptoms. Those are things like hot flashes, a number of aspects. We see some changes in body composition, which I'll talk about. Nutrition plays a really important role here. We start to see a loss of bone density. Most often we don't get that measured until later in life, so something to track earlier in life can be really helpful. Sleep is a big thing that changes, that indirectly impacts our brain, things like anxiety and depression, as well as body composition. Fatigue, as well, as another thing that a lot of women experience. So in reality, the importance of this phase is that there's a number of physiological things that happen. But to be honest, when we look at all of these things, there are so many lifestyle things that can do to support this phase and to help us feel better. It's not an end-all be-all, but the other thing I like to mention, I don't know, I'm in my early 40s, and this is the time of life where we spend so much time helping everyone else, our families, the people we work with. And sometimes I feel guilty for trying to do these lifestyle things. And my hope today is that you really start to see that this is the time phase where making these changes is so, so important for now and for long-term health. We really have some changes that we can attack with lifestyle. And so perimenopause, I want you to think about it as really setting the foundation for our lifestyle health, prioritizing some improved high quality nutrition. There's some really good data on following more of a Mediterranean style approach. So really all of us can probably eat more fruits and vegetables. I'll also talk a little bit about protein and its potential benefit there. Impact of resistance training due to some changes in body composition. Can we prioritize our sleep? Easier said than done. Our brain and cognitive health, and there's some key things personally. I think nutrition has a really important role here. And then community, the people around us and support is really an important component. So when we look at body composition, so one of the most top concerns of women in this phase is weight gain. An average age or an average increase of about 1.5 pounds per year over that 4 to 8 year time span is what's reported. But as someone, I would consider myself a body composition researcher. I would say weight gain, should take our focus just off the weight, and the composition is really what we want to think about. During perimenopause, we see this increased fat redistribution around our bellies. We see a decrease in muscle mass and that increased bone loss over time. And I say this because I know many women, and we see this in the lab, that regardless of how great your nutrition and your exercise is, sometimes we have to do things different. The thing that has always worked for us, moving into perimenopause, we might still see that increased fat gain in the abdomen region and a loss of muscle. It doesn't have to be that way. There's some lifestyle and nutritional things that can happen. But it's really less about the weight and more about the composition. There's an increase in body fat over time in perimenopause. And I used to think it was more of a linear trajectory where it would go pre, peri, and post, and it would just gradually gain. But what we really see is moving from premenopause into peri is somewhat more of a cliff. There's a bigger change as we hit into peri and then a bit of a stabilization. So more rationale for really setting the stage in this midlife, in our late 30s into our 50s. To me, what the science has been showing us is that lean mass is becoming more of an important target. Women lose an average of 6 pounds of muscle during perimenopause, and we know muscle is directly related to health and quality of life. It's also related to things like glucose regulation, our ability to maintain that blood glucose and energy throughout the day. Also, too, I don't know about most of you, but I was always taught to exercise more and eat less. And in reality, that's not the way we want to think about it. That really creates an environment where we lose muscle. We really want to think more about feeding and fueling our bodies in an appropriate way to target muscle. That does not mean we will be huge. It really is going to offset this muscle mass decline, which can be very beneficial for not only body composition, but for metabolism. And so I wanted to show a couple data points from our lab to what we're really trying to understand is, well, what's impacting things like menopause symptoms and how can we start to help account for those? One thing we saw was that body fat percentage, not weight and not central body fat, things like visceral fat, was most related to total menopause symptoms. And then as a follow-up, vigorous exercise contributed most to the variance in total menopause symptoms in perimenopause. So really the takeaway is if we can modulate body fat and increase vigorous exercise, it actually might help with some of our total menopause symptoms. And we're evaluating that now. And so the best way to target body fat is not necessarily to lose weight. It's actually to increase muscle and maintain fat, and that will optimize body fat. The other thing that I study is actually optimal approaches to exercise. Adding some of that high intensity exercise seems to be associated with lower menopausal symptoms. So a couple things we actually can do to help manage this time phase. One of the things that I think is the most beneficial and maybe the easiest to include is that many of us eat more of a skewed protein intake, a little bit at breakfast, a little bit more at lunch, and then we eat the majority of our protein at dinner because that's how Americans do it. When in reality, there's a lot of growing science that says if we just take a little bit of dinner and equally space it throughout the day, that not only helps with metabolism, but it also helps with muscle mass and body composition. So one really easy takeaway is trying to get about 30 grams of protein at each meal. Personally, for me, and I'll show you this as we wrap up at the end, adding some sort of shake or performance protein throughout the day is one way I can add to my protein because it's just hard to get full meals equally spaced throughout the day. So, as one of those, this is a really great supplement to, like I mentioned, more of a plant-based diet throughout the day. The data we have on the Neolife shake is also very fascinating. So, suggesting that it does help with some of the satiety and lowering body mass index, which is more of a weight parameter. And then also some benefit with cholesterol levels, which I'll talk about here in a minute. So, this is a really great strategy that offers a specific health benefits that would benefit our perimenopausal women. So when we think about muscle, I just wanted to demonstrate two things. And this is some data that, like I mentioned, is generated from our lab, really demonstrating that from pre to peri, we see this biggest loss of lean mass and somewhat of a maintenance into post. We also see a lower ability to utilize and absorb proteins. Sometimes we call it anabolic resistance. And so that just justifies and suggests we need slightly more protein per meal, which is where that 30-gram comes in. In this study, we followed up with these women 2 years after we saw them. And what we saw was over that 2-year time phase, and a lot of them transitioned from pre to peri and peri to post, we saw significant decrease in muscle size and quality, as well as a decrease in metabolic rate and bone. And I wanted to point those out because, for instance, it's not about weight. It's really about maximizing muscle size. And then quality is really looking at the ability of those muscles to contract and be utilized. And the best way to enhance that is to add some exercise. So some of that vigorous exercise and some of that resistance training. More importantly, we also know that if we exercise, but we don't have any fuel, so things like amino acids and some carbohydrate around those workouts, sometimes it can make it worse. We might utilize some of that muscle and under recover. So that protein intake around exercise can really be advantageous for our perimenopausal women, which is where I like that performance protein. That also comes into play. We saw some metabolic inflexibility during moderate intensity exercise, meaning women who are we should be burning carbs and fat. Many of us women in the perimenopause are burning more carbs than we need to, which means that we might not utilize the fat that we should be using. And this can actually be modified by having some protein prior to exercise. Again, it goes back to that being fueled and really setting the foundation. Another great study that I love to share is that nutrition can be so overwhelming, particularly as we have these body composition changes. And this study, a little old, 2003, but really talking about modifying the carb to protein ratio. So in 24 women over a 10-week diet intervention, somewhat of a hypocaloric intake, by just changing the carb to protein ratio. So really by just adding some protein or shuffling some calories from carbs to protein. So think about that 30 gram a couple times a day resulted in significantly greater lean maintenance and fat loss. And women felt more satiety. They felt more full by a small behavioral change, by just adding some protein. Or for instance, every time you have some carbohydrate, add that 30 grams of protein, and that can be really metabolically advantageous, particularly for our perimenopausal women. So a couple things I just wanted to point out about our performance protein. Notice we're making a new label, and that will be coming soon. But the amino acid profile is one of the best out there. It has all of our branch chains, including leucine, which is really important to stimulate muscle. And in this case, like I mentioned, it's not necessarily going to build massive muscles. Sometimes I wish that was the case for me. But in reality, it's going to help us prevent the loss. There's also some really good data that it helps with glycemic stability. And that's really important because one of the most talked about symptoms in perimenopause is fatigue. And so this will not cause a crash. It helps with that long lasting energy. Another component when we think about the weight gain, and I'll talk more about the importance of fiber. Fiber is one of those things that does help with weight loss because of feeling more full, satiety. And because of how fiber works, there's so many benefits, particularly as it relates to cholesterol and metabolism. Another interesting thing is glucose balance, is if we can help maintain insulin balance throughout the day by managing glucose, availability and stability, it can help us optimize insulin sensitivity. So glucose balance might also be a strategy to help us with energy and then indirectly with insulin sensitivity, which we want to maintain due to that increased risk of cardiometabolic disease that we see in perimenopause, and Dr. Beck will talk more about in postmenopause. So one of the things that I thought was the most interesting is that regardless of how healthy you are, I like to think I'm a pretty healthy early 40s. I exercise, I try and eat all of the right things. But total cholesterol and triglycerides is the number one sign that perimenopause is looming or kind of beginning, regardless of how healthy you are. And so when we think about how to manage cholesterol, nutrition is one of those first lines of defense. So one thing that's really helpful is to have your cholesterol levels and track them, particularly through perimenopause, so that we can start to understand that. One of my favorite things is the all-natural fiber that from Neolife. And as women in perimenopause, we need a minimum of 30 grams of fiber. And fiber is so important for micronutrient absorption and vasodilatory health, heart health, and even blood sugar regulation. This is something I like to use every day and am even more diligent as I get older. The Neolife bar is also one of my favorite things that I take with me, always have one with me because of the fiber. So 5 grams of fiber in a single bar, but then also the high levels of omega-3. Omega-3 in this phase also is really helpful and has been shown to reduce triglycerides by quite a bit in a short period of time and lowered inflammatory index. So inflammation is another thing that is highly increased in perimenopause. And our salmon oil plus is something that I take regularly to really target not only the inflammation, but help to manage cholesterol along with a healthy lifestyle through perimenopause to really set myself up later in life. Magnesium is getting a lot of press right now, and I think it's something that like I fell in love with several years ago. And magnesium plays a role in so many things, but particularly elements related and relevant for perimenopause. When I look at all of the targets of of magnesium, cardiac function, muscle function, inflammation, brain health, and kind of blood coagulation, bone, and sleep. I mean, hello, I need help with all of that. And we know that during perimenopause, estrogen impacts our ability to absorb magnesium. And so, if we already have this lower absorption and we have a greater increased loss from kidneys and bones in perimenopause, if we're low in magnesium, it can really exacerbate a lot of the side effects or these effects of low magnesium. So, increasing magnesium can help with sleep time and quality and bone strength, a really important foundation, as well as help with blood pressure, kind of prevent our steps of plaque development, decrease hot flashes and depression. All of this has been documented. And so this is one of those really important supplements, ingredients to include in the day-to-day, particularly in perimenopause. Now, perimenopause brain fog, any of you women out there, this is something that is so fascinating and some good data that shows that brain metabolic activity during perimenopause, so peri and early peri, changes quite a bit. And then it stabilizes in late menopause. And so there's a lot of brain fog, things that happen, inability to focus, cognition that's happening in perimenopause that does go away in menopause. And so this is a time that we can really take advantage of some strategies. And I just wanted to say, one, you see my little picture here. There's so many days that I feel like I have 20 squirrels running around in my brain and I just can't get them to calm down. Exercise often helps with me. And there's nootropics and adaptogens that can really help. But I wanted just to give this quote that when women say they're having hot flashes and night sweats and insomnia and memory and anxiety, well, one, those are absolutely real. And those are neurological symptoms. So, and if you think about it, a lot of those will impact sleep and sleep quality, which then make it worse. And so now we want to start to think about how do we optimize sleep and energy that can really help with his brain fog symptoms. So, key things that happen to the brain in perimenopause is cognition. So, things like ADHD symptoms. Executive functioning goes down, so that inability to plan and organize. Memory and mood, I think, is one of those most interesting things that a lot of women might start to see an increase in anxiety and depression, and might then be prescribed pharmaceuticals. But in reality, there's a lot of connection to those changes in hormones. And so when we think about key targets, exercise is one of the best ways to calm and to help with all of these components based on the increased blood flow. Doing some stress reduction techniques. There's ways we can enhance sleep hygiene, which there are. Increase that Mediterranean diet can really help with that inflammatory response in the brain and overall body. And then honestly, I think supplement support. I would not be able to have put this presentation together without a little bit of supplement support based on the perimenopause brain. Some of the most effective products and some of my favorite are ones that include nootropics. And Elevate is something that I have fallen in love with. It really improves brain function and that ability to focus, and provides energy and that positive mood. But interesting thing about Elevate is not only does it help with brain focus, it really supports sleep. So instead of, I actually can't consume much caffeine, and that's not necessarily how Elevate is working, but many other products are increasing caffeine, which make the squirrels run. In reality, here, this helps with focus and helps with sleep. It doesn't impede that. And then Elevate and Upbeat are kind of, I think, a magic combination. So Elevate will help increase energy in the brain, but then Upbeat helps with that blood flow from nitric oxide. And the benefit of Upbeat with a healthy heart and blood pressure, there's long-term benefits. And like I mentioned, targeting during that perimenopause phase is so valuable. So personally, I like to combine the Elevate and the Upbeat together. The other thing no one likes to talk about, but I'll start the conversation, and I believe Dr. Beck is going to finish it, is that Upbeat can actually really help with sexual function. And one of the biggest complaints of perimenopausal women is lack of desire, lack of libido. Some of that can be fueled by blood flow, nitric oxide, and this is one of those strategies. And then one of my favorite other products is the Neolife tea. So the impact on energy and that adaptogen on the mental alertness and well-being, while combined with antioxidants to help with inflammation. These are strategies that are so valuable, particularly in our day-to-day, I think, as we're trying to even focus at work or, as moms and caregiving. But there's physiological whole body effects as well. So then, just as to summarize, and before we get to hear Dr. Beck's amazing presentation, I wanted to think about what are some key takeaways. This phase of life can be so overwhelming. And, I got to take a personal spin. Like I mentioned, I'm in my early 40s. And one key takeaway is eat enough. I see so many women in the lab all around that are not eating enough. And that can impact, and we've seen impacts our resting metabolic rate, which then can impact things like metabolism and muscle. And so feed yourself. Don't feel guilty about that. With good, high quality foods, try and add more plants and prioritize our protein. So about 30 grams per meal or snack, or about 1 gram per pound of body mass is a really good starting point. Trying to get at least 30 grams of fiber. Highlighting our essential fats, so our omega-3 and our omega-6. It's difficult to get omega-3 in our diet besides salmon, so that salmon oil plus is absolutely one of my top recommendations. Move your body. And if you can add some higher intensity exercise and some resistance training, highly recommend that. And maybe we could have that as a separate conversation. And then I say this, prioritize you. I know for me, often I feel guilty as a mom to be able to do all of these things, but it really helps us now and in our long-term health. And when I think about, I wanted I'll show you here in a second what I do personally. A multivitamin or high quality Pro Vitality helps us top off, making sure we have all of those key essential micronutrients. There's key changes in the gut during perimenopause. Acidophilus plus is something that I do daily. And then vegan D. Vitamin D is related particularly to bone health, but also muscle function and sleep. Also difficult to get through the diet. So if we pull it all together, I just wanted to show it's overwhelming, but what does it look like? So for me personally, I like an upbeat and elevate and all natural fiber in the middle. I used to try and put all natural fiber in my coffee, but that ruined it. So no, I mix them all together. 30 to 35 grams at breakfast. Often I'll either add a bar here or a little bit later. Again, kind of a prioritized lunch with protein. Notice the vegetables and the fruits. Prior to exercise, getting some protein, with some fiber and some colors to help with inflammation. Depending on the exercise, adding that performance protein before, during, or after, again, depending on what type of exercise you're doing. And then another 30 to 35-gram meal with that protein and our vegetables. And then personally, I like to take the majority of my vitamins at night, particularly things like magnesium and vitamin D that can support high quality sleep. So the most important thing though is consistency with these. You can take them, it's best to take them with when you have some food in your tummy. And I know a lot of people like to take Elevate and Upbeat around exercise. I often need a little bit of a boost in the morning. So when we wrap up, just this idea, and hopefully you're seeing like the perimenopause phase is so, so important. It's also really hard for women. There's a lot of challenges that are very real. But honestly, there's some key tools that we can use that start with nutrition and dietary supplements to help women thrive in this life phase. And it's so important so that we can move into post-menopause and really feel good and kind of live a healthy lifelong view, which Dr. Beck is going to give us even more tips on that. So I'll kick it over to you. I can't wait to hear what Dr. Beck has to share with us. And thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abby. Okay, I did not lie, right? She completely crushed that. Let you know this, Dr. Abby. I was getting text messages from men telling me how much you were crushing your segment. Like men were saying, "This is incredible. I'm loving this." So thank you so much. I appreciate it more than you know. All right, now, Dr. Abby did such a great job setting up our next incredible speaker. So I'm gonna I didn't I was writing down all of her accomplishments. Guys, I gave up about halfway through. So I'm gonna tell you a lot of her accomplishments. I don't even want to minimize the fact that I didn't even write them all down. My hands started hurting. So let me just give you an overarching view of this wonderful friend of mine. So, Dr. Susan Beck is our Chief Science Officer here. She heads our Scientific Advisory Board. We are so blessed to have her here. She is a nutrition scientist with a PhD in nutrition science. She specializes in oncology. I know that she has a master's in traditional Chinese medicine, which I think is so cool. Like, how incredible to have someone that is here in the Western world that specializes in, traditional Chinese medicine. I know she's a nationally certified acupuncturist, which I think is super cool. I'm not all about the needles, but I would probably trust Dr. Beck to try that one time. No one else, but I think I would trust her. And I love the fact that her heart really is in researching and developing science-based products that work, quality products. And so anyone that she brings on to the SAB, anytime she trains any of us, it is always absolutely incredible. So those are all of her accomplishments. But she's also she has become an incredible friend of mine. I love our Zooms that we get to do during the month. She always makes me feel like I'm smart, even if I'm saying really dumb things. She's an incredible mother, an incredible friend, and Neolife is really, really lucky to have her at the helm of our scientific advisory board. So without further ado, Dr. Susan Beck, everyone.
Right. I always am blushing when Ashley introduces me. Thank you, Ashley. And Dr. Abby, that was a fantastic, of course, fantastic presentation. Thank you for all the amazing work that went into putting that together. Um, when I found out when I learned that, I was going to do a presentation on menopause, I thought, well, this is going to be great. Neolife has so many supplement options for women to help with menopausal symptoms. And I've been through menopause. And when I used to get hot flashes, I felt like the most powerful woman on earth. I felt like I could climb the highest mountain. I think my dedication to nutrition and lifestyle choices and supplements had a lot to do with me getting through menopause in a positive way. And I had so much passion for this topic for Neolife's products that I ended up creating about a 2-hour presentation, which is obviously a little bit too long for today, but enough for lots more presentations on menopause in the future. So then I realized that these presentations by Dr. Abby and by me are just the start of a longer conversation. We'll have more trainings and more videos on the subject of perimenopause and menopause, and today is just the beginning. And thank you to everyone who submitted questions for Dr. Abby and me to address. It really helped kick off this conversation. And one thing I do want to make sure to say is that it's really true that as we get older, we are less afraid as women to speak up for ourselves, and we become more fearless when it comes to following our own ethics and values. And in following my ethics and values, and with my desire to work at a place where I could speak my truth, all of this led me to Neolife. And I'm thankful every day to be a part of the Neolife family and to know that every person I work with, starting with Kendra and Marco and Ashley and Whit and the SAB and everyone on my team and really at the company. Everyone is dedicated to being the best person they can be and to making sure Neolife creates the best products in the marketplace. So I'm very much looking forward to talking to you today about menopause and how we can age gracefully and optimally through lifestyle choices and taking the right supplements. And I want to start off by saying that although the Western medical model often treats menopause as a disease, it's not. It's a natural part of women's lives. In fact, over 1 billion women are postmenopausal in the world, and about 1.3 million women enter menopause every year in the US. And today I'm going to talk to you about how you can have a dietary supplement arsenal or a menopause bundle for the 6 most common symptoms of the menopausal transition, which includes both perimenopause and menopause. And that these same supplements that help with menopausal symptoms can also help to reduce the risk of chronic illnesses that often occur with menopause. And just a couple basics about menopause. Dr. Abby already covered most of them. Most women begin the menopausal transition between the ages of 45 and 55, or in the US, a little bit younger, at 42. And the process usually lasts for several years. And postmenopause is defined as when women have gone for 12 months with no periods. And women reach postmenopause at different ages, with the age of 51 being the median age of menopause in the US. Now, there are many hormonal fluctuations during the menopausal transition, including estrogen and progesterone and follicle stimulating hormone and testosterone. But today I'm just going to focus specifically on the role that declining estrogen plays during menopause. Once we reach menopause, our bodies still produce some estrogen, but overall, estrogen decreases by about 80 to 90% as we continue to age. And here's why this is important. Estrogen acts on blood vessels and helps protect against heart disease because it stimulates the production of nitric oxide, which helps with blood flow and healthy blood vessels. Estrogen helps build strong bones and protects against osteoporosis. And estrogen also improves insulin sensitivity, and therefore it protects us against type 2 diabetes. Now, when women reach menopause, we have less estrogen, so we are therefore at a higher risk of developing cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, osteoporosis, as well as gaining weight. But the answer isn't just taking estrogen as part of a hormone replacement therapy. If women enter menopause early, for example, because of a surgical procedure or cancer treatment, then hormone replacement therapy is often used. And HRT can also be helpful to reduce some of the symptoms that come with menopause. But most menopausal women aren't taking HRT, less than 5% in the US, mostly due to concerns over risks versus benefits. And evaluating the risk versus benefits of HRT is something that is highly individualized, and women should discuss with their doctors or healthcare practitioners. But either way, just taking HRT isn't going to, by itself, create optimal health and vitality during menopause. Now, the average life expectancy for women in the US is about 80 years old, although women who take Neolife supplements are likely to live longer. This means that women in the United States will spend about 1/3 of their lives postmenopausal. And instead of viewing menopause as a medical issue, there's a growing movement to view menopause as a window of opportunity to age gracefully and with vitality. And the science shows that with good lifestyle habits and taking the right supplements, women can thrive during their menopausal years. Here are a couple of photos of my great aunt when she turned 100 years old. She spent over half of her life postmenopausal and extremely healthy because of the lifestyle choices she followed. It's more than possible to enjoy getting older if we lay the right foundation for ourselves, and it's never too late to start making healthy lifestyle choices. Let's start by talking about inflammaging. Inflammaging is a relatively new concept that refers to chronic inflammation as a risk factor in aging poorly and in developing many chronic illnesses. The goal of healthy aging is to choose lifestyle habits and supplements that will help us avoid inflammaging and help us age gracefully. The most important lifestyle choices to avoid inflammation and to support healthy aging are exercising, eating an anti-inflammatory diet like the Mediterranean diet, and taking the right supplements. All three of these lifestyle choices will reduce the risk of developing heart disease, type 2 diabetes, gaining weight, and osteoporosis. These three lifestyle choices will also help us to get through the menopause transition more smoothly. Now, there's a phenomenon that Dr. Abby was describing called menopause belly, which, due to fluctuations in hormones, is a tendency to gain weight, especially around the abdomen. The menopause belly starts in perimenopause and continues through the first few years of menopause. In addition to exercise and ensuring a healthy body composition, like Dr. Abby discussed, the Mediterranean diet was found to reduce weight in menopausal women. Women lost about 17 pounds over a 4-month period. Plus, the diet improved blood pressure, reduced cholesterol, improved insulin sensitivity, and improved inflammatory markers. In addition, women who eat an anti-inflammatory diet not only lost weight, but studies show that they also have less overall menopausal symptoms than women who eat a lot of processed or ultra-processed foods and saturated fat. Now, Dr. Abby already went over in detail how we can avoid weight gain during the perimenopause years and through menopause, but I wanted to mention this study on how significant an anti-inflammatory diet can be when it comes to both avoiding inflammation and also in losing weight. And regular exercise is also proven to be critical for women going through menopause. And it doesn't have to be a lot of exercise. Even adding a little exercise daily is helpful. For example, there was a recent study that showed if menopausal women just increased their steps from 2,500 a day to 3,500 a day, then that extra 1,000 steps a day in walking reduced depression and anxiety in postmenopausal women, and it also helped them sleep better. Now, let's go over the most common menopausal transition symptoms that women experience in the US and talk about which supplements will help reduce these symptoms. As you can see, the most common symptoms by far are hot flashes, night sweats, difficulty sleeping, and mood changes. Women also experience joint pain, a decreased interest in sex, as well as vaginal dryness. And some of the other symptoms that women experience but don't get talked about as much and are not on this chart are itchy, dry, aging skin and fatigue. So I grouped all of these symptoms into 6 categories, and we will cover all 6 categories today and the supplements to take for each of the symptoms. So the products we'll talk about today are in addition to our foundational products, Pro Vitality and Neolife Shake. I always say if you take nothing else, take Pro Vitality and Neolife Shake, as these products create a good nutritional foundation. The 4 products in Pro Vitality are Carotenoid Complex, Salmon Oil Plus, Treonin, and our new essential vitamin and mineral soft gel. While Pro Vitality and Neolife Shake are important, it's critical for women to have an arsenal of products to choose from to combat menopausal symptoms. So here is the menopause bundle we will be going over. These 9 products, in addition to Pro Vitality and Neolife Shake, will take care of most of the symptoms that women experience when going through menopause. Plus, most of these same products, along with good lifestyle choices, will help reduce the risk for different diseases that increase during menopause. Since all women experience menopause differently, it's not necessary for every woman going through menopause to take all 9 products, but it is important to have an arsenal. The 9 Neolife products are Vitamin E Plus, Salmon Oil Plus, Feminine Herbal, Vegan D, Magnesium Complex, Full Motion, Glucose Balance, Upbeat, and Elevate. I will also suggest some additional products for some of the symptoms. For example, although we get Salmon Oil Plus as part of Pro Vitality, most menopausal symptoms require additional salmon oil for extra relief. Neolife supplements are multifaceted, which means that each product I'm going to discuss has multiple positive effects on the body and can be used in numerous ways to support optimal health. Let's start with hot flashes and night sweats. 80% of women going through menopause or perimenopause will experience hot flashes, and hot flashes can last an average of 7 to 10 years. Sometimes not as long, but on average, 7 to 10 years. They may also contribute to sleep and mood issues that can negatively impact quality of life. And hot flashes can range from mild to severe, and night sweats are hot flashes that occur during sleep, and they can also range from mild to severe. So let's talk about the supplements that can ease hot flashes and night sweats. Vitamin E was found to decrease hot flashes in menopausal women at a dose of 400 IUs a day within 8 weeks compared to placebo. And the vitamin E used in the studies contained mixed tocopherols, which means the family of vitamin E, not just the isolated D-alpha tocopherol. Neolife's vitamin E plus is especially effective since our vitamin E provides 550 IUs, which is greater than what was used in the clinical trial. Plus, it's in a base of wheat germ oil, which has also shown to reduce hot flashes, and it provides mixed tocopherols instead of just the isolated D-alpha tocopherol. Also, our salmon oil plus, when combined with vitamin E, can help with hot flashes and night sweats. Again, you'll need more salmon oil plus than what's in Pro Vitality. You'll need at least 3 salmon oil soft gels a day. That's because there was a recent meta-analysis of 10 studies, which found that the combination of omega-3 plus vitamin E worked better than placebo to reduce hot flashes. And the study used approximately the same dose of fish oil that's in 3 capsules of salmon oil plus. We also have our feminine herbal, which contains Vitex. And Vitex was found to reduce several of the symptoms associated with menopause, including hot flashes. I'm also going to suggest an additional product for hot flashes and night sweats that includes Tray. Tray is a great addition to help with menopausal symptoms because it contains a significant amount of pomegranate combined with green tea and a berry blend high in flavonoids. Pomegranate in particular was found to reduce several menopausal symptoms, including hot flashes and night sweats. So here's a summary of the 4 products that will specifically help with hot flashes and night sweats. Now, mood and sleep are the next 2 common symptoms that women experience as they're going through the menopausal transition. The strategy to improve mood and sleep are to reduce stress hormones, increase neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine that help improve mood, enhance cognitive resilience, and take calming botanicals that help the body to cope with physical and mental stress. So 2 of the must-haves for mood and sleep are vegan D and magnesium. Most menopausal women are deficient in both vitamin D and magnesium. Both magnesium and vitamin D reduce stress hormones. In fact, if you do nothing else to change your stress levels, and if you just take magnesium and vitamin D, then these products will help reduce the amount of stress hormones your body produces. And magnesium and vitamin D have a positive impact on neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine to help improve mood. They both also help with sleep quality. And it's important to take magnesium and vitamin D together since magnesium helps with vitamin D absorption. Now, we know that glucose balance is important for regulating blood sugar, but Neolife's products are multifaceted. They address multiple systems in the body. So the spices in glucose balance, the cinnamon and the curcumin, both reduce stress hormones in the body, which in turn helps improve mood. And again, if you do nothing else in your life to reduce stress, But if you take glucose balance plus magnesium and vitamin D, then these products will help reduce the amount of stress hormones your body produces. Also, these spices increase levels of the feel-good neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine to help improve mood. And Elevate, our nootropic energy product, also helps with mood and sleep. Elevate contains clinically backed doses of caffeine and suntheanine. Suntheanine is the world's most studied L-theanine. L-theanine is the calming part of green tea. So suntheanine and caffeine, along with the other ingredients in Elevate, like B vitamins and taurine and vitamin D, increase levels of feel-good neurotransmitters for improved mood. Now, Elevate contains caffeine, so for people who are caffeine sensitive, it should be taken in the morning. It may seem counterintuitive to recommend a product with caffeine to help with sleep, but Elevate's ingredients produce a calm, focused energy. It increases both mental and physical energy without the jitters some people get from drinking coffee or other caffeinated beverages. Now, omega-3s have been shown in several studies to improve cognitive resilience and mood. In fact, supplementing with omega-3 fatty acids led to a 45% reduction in suicidal thinking and a 30% reduction in depressive symptoms. And it's important to take calming botanicals to help the body cope with physical and mental stress. Herbal Rest and Relax is an add-on to the menopause bundle that will help with promoting a calm mind and a restful sleep. It contains St. John's wort, which has been shown to help with mild to moderate depression. And it also contains calming herbs like passion flower and chamomile, which have been found in several studies to have a calming effect on the nervous system. So here are Neolife solutions for mood and sleep symptoms in menopausal women. Now let's talk about joint pain associated with menopause. Up to 50% of menopausal women experience joint pain. And the strategy for helping women with joint pain is to support a healthy inflammatory response and to support rebuilding cartilage and delaying cartilage degradation and supporting overall joint comfort. And here are Neolife's joint comfort solutions. Let's start with full motion with 1,500 milligrams of glucosamine hydrochloride and anti-inflammatory botanicals that will help to relieve menopausal joint discomfort by supporting the rebuilding of the cartilage matrices and by helping to delay the degradation of cartilage, and also by supporting a healthy inflammatory response. In addition, our salmon oil plus helps support a healthy inflammatory response. It was found to decrease an important inflammatory marker by 68% in a clinical trial. In addition, there are several studies on omega-3s that have shown that they help to relieve joint pain and discomfort. And finally, as I mentioned earlier, as we age, we tend to become magnesium deficient. There are several studies that indicate that increasing the amount of magnesium we consume reduces a specific neurotransmitter involved in the sensation of pain. So when we take magnesium supplements, this helps to calm down that neurotransmitter. Plus, magnesium is necessary for healthy muscle contraction and relaxation. And when our muscles are more relaxed, this also provides comfort to our joints. Now let's go over the supplements that can help for decreased sex drive and vaginal dryness. About 40 to 50% of women going through menopause experience a decrease in their sex drive. In addition, about 1 in 3 women have issues with vaginal dryness. That doesn't mean that women cannot have a healthy and satisfying sex life after menopause. Many women continue to thrive sexually post-menopause, but it's important to know which supplements can help increase sex drive and decrease vaginal dryness. Upbeat is a great solution for increasing sex drive and helping with vaginal dryness. Upbeat contains dietary nitrates from beetroot and Joseph coat and kale, and dietary nitrates are transformed into nitric oxide in the body, which then increases blood flow. Upbeat also contains a clinically studied botanical blend called the fitness blend, which helps to stimulate the body's own internal mechanisms to make nitric oxide. So Upbeat can help with both sex drive and vaginal dryness because it promotes nitric oxide production, which then reduces blood pressure and increases blood flow. And as Dr. Abby mentioned, we've also had great feedback from our promoters who say that it helps them both with sex drive and vaginal dryness. In addition, the Vitex and Feminine Herbal has been shown to increase sexual desire in a recent study. And Glucose Balance contains 1,000 milligrams of high-quality cinnamon. And cinnamon has been shown in another recent study to address vaginal dryness by increasing lubrication. Again, we know glucose balance helps regulate blood sugar, and it helps to reduce stress hormone production. And now we know it also helps to reduce vaginal dryness. Again, Neolife's products affect multiple systems of the body, so our products help with multiple menopausal symptoms. And in addition, Salmon Oil Plus will help with vaginal dryness. Studies have shown that taking omega-3 supplements improve lubrication. Vegan D also helps with vaginal dryness. Two studies showed that vitamin D supplementation improved the vaginal lining, improved vaginal pH, and decreased vaginal dryness in menopausal women. And here are two additional products to help with sexual desire and vaginal dryness. Women can take more Tran on top of the Tran and Pro Vitality because of the important essential fatty acids that can help improve lubrication. And then finally, mind enhancement, which we know helps with cognitive function, can also help with sexual desire. Mind enhancement contains ginkgo, which has been found in clinical studies to enhance sexual desire in menopausal women. Also, mind enhancement contains gotu kola, which is traditionally used to enhance sexual desire. So here's a summary of the Neolife solutions to help increase sex drive and decrease vaginal dryness in menopausal women. Now, let's tackle the problem many menopausal women have with dry, itchy, aging skin and also thinning skin. When estrogen declines, then so does collagen production, and collagen provides structure and firmness to the skin. Also, estrogen plays a role in skin hydration. And the strategy for helping with aging skin is to hydrate the skin with essential fatty acids, reduce inflammation in the skin, protect the skin from photoaging, which means to protect the skin from the damaging effects of the sun, and to increase collagen and connective tissue production. Now, Tran and Salmon Oil Plus will provide essential fatty acids to hydrate the skin and support a healthy inflammatory response. Omega-3s help with skin hydration, and a recent study showed that omega-3s reduce cortisol, which reduces stress levels. Omega-3s reduce inflammatory markers, and omega-3s boost repair mechanisms in the skin of older adults, which mean that omega-3s help the skin repair itself. And another product that's helpful with aging skin is carotenoid complex. Multiple studies have found that carotenoids protect skin from photoaging. They protect the skin against oxidative stress and DNA damage, and they also protect the skin from UV radiation. Now, Full Motion and Neolife Shake can also help with aging skin. You may be surprised to see Full Motion here. We know Full Motion helps with joint discomfort, but it turns out that the glucosamine in Full Motion also helps improve collagen and connective tissue markers in menopausal women. Also, Neolife Shake provides the amino acid building blocks that the body needs to make collagen: proline, glycine, hydroxyproline. So these two products together can help improve collagen production in the body. So here's a summary of Neolife solutions for aging skin. Now, fatigue also wasn't on the list in the menopause symptom chart I showed you earlier, but it should be. Studies show that up to 85% of postmenopausal women and 46% of perimenopausal women experience physical and mental exhaustion. And the strategy to address this symptom is to supplement with nutrients commonly deficient in menopausal women, increase energy through brain chemistry, and increase dietary nitrates for stamina and endurance. Now, magnesium is involved in over 700 biochemical reactions, including energy production. If we're deficient in magnesium, then studies show we will be more likely to experience fatigue. Also, vitamin D plays an important role in ensuring the health of the mitochondria, which act as the cell's powerhouse to create ATP or energy. So as a result, if we don't have enough vitamin D, then we will likely have decreased energy levels. So both magnesium and vitamin D are essential for energy production and to protect against feeling fatigue. Elevate increases energy through brain chemistry. It increases both physical and mental energy. Also, Elevate contains clinically backed levels of caffeine and suntheanine, which have been shown in 10 clinical trials to work synergistically to improve memory and focus. Upbeat boosts nitric oxide levels, which are important for healthy energy levels, and nitric oxide levels decrease as we age. So it's important to supplement with dietary nitrates like in Upbeat. Now, the botanical fitness blend in Upbeat was found in a clinical trial to increase stamina endurance, so much so that it helped people work out 18% longer than people who took a placebo. Also, there was a recent study on postmenopausal women and soy lecithin, and women who supplemented with soy lecithin reported increased energy and reduced fatigue, and the women specifically reported feeling increased vigor. So here are the Neolife solutions for increasing energy levels. And finally, I just want to echo something that Dr. Abby mentioned, that although the perimenopause brain that Dr. Abby discussed is real, the brain fog that perimenopausal women experience is associated with a temporary inability to learn. The good news is that this brain fog clears up once women enter menopause and the brain kicks back into gear. And interestingly, any cognitive diseases that occur as women age are not due to menopause, but rather to other lifestyle and genetic factors. So Dr. Abby went through some of the products that help with healthy cognition. And although there's much more to add regarding how to support healthy cognition, this is one of the topics we can cover in detail when we continue the conversation on menopause and healthy aging. So again, here are the 9 main products that will tackle most menopausal symptoms in addition to our foundational products, Pro Vitality and Neolife Shake. And we've created a slide that can be turned into a handout that summarizes the symptoms and health benefits of the products in the menopause bundle. Since many of the same products that relieve menopausal symptoms also help reduce the risk of chronic diseases like heart disease and osteoporosis and type 2 diabetes, we have added optimal heart health, bone health, and blood sugar to the handout. And in addition, since 6 out of the 9 products in the menopause bundle help with cognition, we added cognition to this chart as well. Now that we have gone through menopausal symptoms and solution for these symptoms, I want to address this important question. Why choose Neolife's products? Why not go to CVS or Costco and buy, for example, magnesium and vitamin D there? Let me explain why. First of all, most companies do not have an active and involved scientific advisory board like Neolife does. Our SAB is involved in every aspect of the safety, quality, and efficacy of our products. Also, most companies spend the majority of their money on marketing. Now, think about it. If companies are spending most of their money on marketing, then where are they going to cut costs? They're going to cut costs on the quality of their ingredients, and they're going to cut costs on testing their products. At Neolife, we spend money on science, on our SAB, and on the quality and efficacy of our products. Also, companies like CVS and Costco don't control their own manufacturing and quality. They farm these responsibilities out to other companies. At Neolife, because of our unwavering dedication to quality, we control everything, and we are constantly and consistently testing and sourcing the highest quality ingredients. I always say that if you buy cheap products, you get cheap products. Plus, our products are unique. I'm going to go over 5 of our products to highlight how unique they are compared to everything else out there. Also, all of our products are GMO-free, which is not true of products at CVS or Costco. First of all, we have clinical trials on several of our products. For example, our Salmon Oil Plus has a clinical trial that shows it reduced triglycerides by 17%, increased the omega-3 index by 38%, and reduced an important inflammatory marker by 68%. Also, our Salmon Oil Plus is the only product in the marketplace with standardized amounts of 8 nutritionally important omega-3s. It's sustainably fished and it's ultra pure. It's tested for over 200 contaminants, including lead, mercury, and PCBs. Now, our carotenoid complex was clinically studied by USDA researchers and was found to boost immune capacity by 37% in 20 days. It also increased lymphocytes, which are white blood cells, including natural killer cells. And our carotenoid complex is from fruit and vegetable extracts, and it provides 15 different carotenoids. Now, our magnesium complex provides 300 milligrams of magnesium from 3 different sources of magnesium. We use double amino acid chelated magnesium bound to glycine to provide a highly bioavailable and absorbable form of magnesium. And this mineral chelation technique was developed by Dr. Arthur First many years ago, and it's so effective we still use it today. Also, our magnesium complex contains a phytomag blend, which is a proprietary blend of whole food beets, kale, broccoli, and radishes. And this phytonutrient blend provides antioxidants plus natural sources of magnesium. And finally, our Neolife 3D technology assures rapid and complete disintegration, dissolution, and dispersion, which means that the magnesium is easily absorbed and bioavailable. And our Vegan D is a proprietary blend of the two naturally sourced and whole food-based vitamin D ingredients. It combines both vitamin D3 and vitamin D2. The vitamin D3 is from sustainably sourced lichen, also known as reindeer lichen, which is traditionally consumed by people in the Arctic countries. And it contains naturally occurring D2 from superior quality mushrooms. And then finally, Upbeat is unique. It contains a botanical blend which has two clinical trials showing increased endurance, reduced oxidative stress, and increased dopamine levels. Upbeat works within 1 hour, and one dose lasts up to 12 hours. Upbeat provides an effective dose of dietary nitrates, 70 milligrams. There's no harmful fat ingredients, no artificial sweeteners or flavors. And I want to mention this. Also doesn't contain oxalates. Some people have an increased risk of getting kidney stones when they eat foods that are high in oxalates, and lots of vegetables have oxalates, including beetroot and beetroot powders, have naturally occurring oxalates. But this is another example of why quality and testing matters. We use only high quality beetroot powder and test it to make sure it doesn't contain oxalates. Most companies do not test their beet products for oxalates. So the Neolife difference matters when it comes to safety, quality, and efficacy. I want to thank you all for listening today, and I want to make sure to thank all of you promoters for everything you do to get the word out about Neolife and to help the world be a better and healthier place, and everything you do to empower people to live their best lives. And I will look forward to continuing this perimenopause and menopause discussion with Dr. Abby in the near future. Thank you.